Morning, students. Welcome to Class 10 Biology. Students, we all know that an individual is made up of a number of systems, and each system has a particular function to perform in the body. For example, the digestive system is responsible for breaking down complex food into simple soluble form and absorbing it. The excretory system is responsible for throwing out nitrogenous waste from the body. The reproductive system helps in reproduction, whereas the circulatory system is responsible for carrying the nutrients and oxygen to every cell in our body and bringing back the nitrogenous waste and carbon dioxide so that it can be eliminated from the body. This way, each system has a particular way of performing its function. But there are two systems which help in coordinating all these systems in our body, and they are the nervous system and the endocrine system. Just like in our school, we have different subjects and different teachers teaching different subjects. We have the two coordinators who are responsible for bringing about coordination. The field in which these coordinators work is also different. For example, the activity coordinator is responsible for all the activities in the school, whereas the academic coordinator is responsible for the academics. But whenever there is an emergency, the two come together so that the school functions without any problem. Same way in our body, the nervous system and the endocrine system have different fields in which they function and also different methods by which they carry out these activities. For example, the nervous system works with the help of neurons and sends nerve impulses through these neurons. Since there is a network in the body through which these impulses are sent, it works very quickly and the nerve impulses are short lived. They are usually not responsible for growth or any type of metabolic activities, whereas the endocrine system works differently. It releases certain chemicals which we call hormones, which are put into the bloodstream. The blood carries them to the target organs, that is, the place where they have their effect. Since they are sent via the bloodstream, they take time to reach their target organs. Hence, they work slowly, but once they reach there, they have a prolonged effect. They are usually responsible for growth and other metabolic activities. In this class, we are going to study about the endocrine system. The endocrine system is made up of a number of glands. What are glands and what type of glands are present in our body? In our body, there are two types of glands present, the endocrine glands and the exocrine glands. The exocrine glands are glands with ducts. That means they have pipelines that carry the secretion to the place where they have the effect. They usually secrete enzymes, maybe water, salts, and certain nitrogenous wastes also. Their secretion are transported via these ducts, hence they are usually present close to the place where the secretion is to have its effect. For example, the sweat glands, sebaceous glands, etc. The endocrine glands are also known as ductless glands. That means they have no pipelines. Since they have no pipelines, they needn't be close to the place where they have their effect. They release hormones which are transported by way of blood. So they usually are present away from the site where they have the effect. Pituitary gland, thyroid gland, adrenal gland are examples of endocrine glands. Now, what are these hormones? What is their nature? Chemical nature of hormones. Hormones are organic in nature. They can be proteinous, like the growth hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, etc. They may be peptides, like the adrenocorticotrophic hormones, oxytocin, vasopressin, etc. Adrenaline and non-adrenaline are amines, whereas thyroxine is an amino acid. They could also be steroids. Most of the adrenal gland cortex secretions are steroid in nature. For example, cortisol, corticosterone, etc. What are the characteristics of hormones? Hormones are secreted by the endocrine glands and transported by way of blood. They act away from the place where they have the effect. That is, the cells where they have the effect are also known as target cells or target organs. Their secretion is in very small amounts because their hypersecretion and hyposecretion both are harmful. They are usually used up in a chemical reaction, and soon after the reaction, whatever is left is broken down and excreted out from the body. They work on the principle of feedback inhibition. I will explain this later on in the chapter. They also prepare the body to cope up with any emergency situation. Now let us study the endocrine glands in humans. The ones we are going to study are the four which we have in our syllabus. There are others also, but we are going to study only four of them: pituitary gland, thyroid gland, adrenal gland, and the pancreas. Endocrine glands are of two types: purely endocrine glands, also known as holocrine glands, which produce only hormones. That is, their function is only production of hormones. For example, the pituitary gland, thyroid gland, adrenal gland, etc. Heterocrine glands, they produce hormones together with carrying out other functions as well. For example, the pancreas, gonads, kidneys, etc. Let us now study the pituitary gland. First, we'll study the structure and location. Pituitary gland are small pea-shaped red-gray colored structures which hang from the base of the hypothalamus. They are attached to the hypothalamus by a stalk which is known as the infundibulum. The endocrine gland, the pituitary gland, is responsible for activating other glands to make their secretions. Hence, they are also known as master glands. Pituitary gland can be divided into three parts. That is the anterior lobe, the intermediate lobe, and the posterior lobe. Anterior lobe secretes 6 hormones. Out of them, 5 are stimulating hormones, that is also known as trophic hormones. They stimulate other glands to make their secretions. First, growth hormone. Growth hormone has an effect all over the body. They are responsible for growth of bones and soft tissues. Thyroid stimulating hormone. It stimulates the thyroid gland to produce thyroxine. Adrenocorticotrophic hormone. It influences the adrenal cortex to produce its hormones. Follicle stimulating hormone. It promotes and maintains the growth and development of the ovarian follicle and helps it and is responsible for ovulation, that is oogenesis. In males, it is responsible for spermatogenesis. Then comes the luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone helps in the process of ovulation after the Graafian follicle and the conversion of the Graafian follicle to corpus luteum. They are also responsible, in males, they are known as the interstitial cell stimulating hormone, and they are responsible for secretion of testosterone. In females, secretion of estrogen as well. Intermediate lobe secretes melanocytes secreting hormone, MSH, melanocyte stimulating hormone, which stimulates the formation of melanin in our body. The posterior lobe is responsible for secretion of 2 hormones, oxytocin and vasopressin. Oxytocin is responsible for contraction of the uterus during childbirth. Hence, it is also known as birth hormone, and also ejection of milk after childbirth. Vasopressin is also known as antidiuretic hormone, which is responsible for the amount of water which is to be retained or thrown out from the body. Effect of hyper and hypersecretion of pituitary gland. If pituitary gland secretes more hormones in childhood, it leads to what we call gigantism, that is extraordinary growth of long bones. Hence the person attains extraordinary height but has a proportionate body. Acromegaly. If the growth hormone is secreted in excess in adulthood, then it leads to acromegaly. This is disproportionate growth of hands, feet, cheek, and jaws, and the person develops a thick nose and lips. Hypersecretion of the melanocyte stimulating hormone leads to darkening of skin. Effect of hypo, that is less secretion of the pituitary gland, leads during childhood leads to what we call dwarfism or midget or pituitary nanism. All three means the same thing. It is due to undersecretion of growth hormone in childhood. It leads to slow growth of bones and other body parts. The person remains short in height, but mentally and sexually the person is well developed. Diabetes insipidus. It is due to undersecretion of antidiuretic hormone or vasopressin. It results in production of large amount of urine and leads to dehydration and thirst. But this urine is not accompanied by sugar. This is the difference between diabetes mellitus and insipidus. With this, we come to the end of the hormones secreted by the pituitary gland. Thank you. Take care of yourselves and God bless you all.